Everyone, this is Al once again, and I do a lot of videos about gun-related things, and I thought that I would do one about the gun laws in this particular state of Indiana and clear up some of the myths and misperceptions, kind of help people out a little bit. One of the first laws concerning guns is the ability for a gun permit. Now, in the state of Indiana, if you meet, there's a few other small questions, but for the most part, there's three main requirements in Indiana. And if you meet those three requirements, the gun permit will be issued. Indiana is what's called a shall issue state. A shall issue state means it's not up to a person's discretion behind a desk to decide yes or no. If you don't have a negative strike in one of three areas, the permit is yours. First, legal resident, permanent resident, or citizen of the U.S. Boom. The next thing is you must be 18 or older. Now, some people will tell you it's 21. They don't know what they're talking about. I listened to them when I was young, and then when I found out you didn't have to be 21, I went and applied, and I got my permit at age 20. Don't let anyone tell you you got to be 21. So, resident, 18. The third thing is you cannot have been convicted of an actual felony and done time for a felony. Now, there's a fourth one, which I kind of lost count, but it's you could never have been mandated, court ordered by the state to have to be admitted into a hospital for psychiatric reasons. Now, if you meet those four requirements in the state of Indiana, the gun permit is yours. Every state is different. Some are easier and some of them are more strict, and there's one or two states where you pretty much can't get a gun. Now, that's to get your permit. Now, some people call it a handgun permit. Some people call it a concealed carry permit. You get all different kinds of answers in the state of Indiana. But you are not breaking a law by having your gun showing. Now, will it create some issues? A lot of times it will. A policeman will see it, and if they're not real pro Second Amendment, they're going to approach you. They're going to take 10 minutes out of your time. They're going to question you about everything, and it's going to be inconvenient. My best advice for people that are going to carry a firearm, a pistol, just cover the thing up. Don't worry about showing how macho you are. It does you a disservice to advertise to the bad guys that you got a gun because you're going to be the first one they try to hit. Just keep it hidden. Now, that's gun permit. Now, the second legality about guns in Indiana is for selling guns. A private citizen in Indiana can sell any gun that they own to another private citizen. You do not have to do, this is a big myth, a gun transfer. I hear all these myths about guns that people constantly get wrong all the time, and I don't know how they spread, but they're so wrong. And many gun owners, they are wrong about it too. You don't do what's called a gun transfer in Indiana. The law states you cannot knowingly sell a gun to someone that you know does not have the legal right to own it. Meaning, if you know someone did time for a felony, then you are violating the law by selling them the gun. Okay? So, as long as the person you are selling it to, you have no knowledge that they don't meet any requirements to legally own a gun, then you can sell it to them. Okay? So we've covered getting a gun permit, and we've covered the laws on selling a gun in Indiana. Now, A few new things that have come around the bend that many people are not aware of. One, I got to look up the actual law number. I can't remember the number. I don't want to get it wrong, but loosely they call it the parking lot rule. And what it states, and it's been in effect for 2 summers now, is that when you are at a place where you work, they cannot fire you or suspend you for having a firearm that you legally own. Now, here's the specifics. It must be A, out of sight, B, secured, which means locked. It has to be out of sight, locked, and it has to be something that you legally own. And it can be in your car. If a job site says you cannot have any weapons on the premises, you can't bring weapons in their building. But the inside of your car has been declared your domain by a state statute, and they cannot fire you. You will be backed up by the state of Indiana. They cannot fire you for having a gun in your car, legally owned, out of sight, and secured. They can't make it a prerequisite for whether or not you can be hired either. They can't ask you that. If anyone wants to look it up, because I can't remember off my head, type in Indiana, type in the parking lot gun law, and you'll get it real fast. Now, another one that just came down the pike this summer, which makes me happy and probably drives liberals bonkers, is it's like the parking lot rule, but it applies to schools. Now, up until a few months ago, if you've been a legal gun owner your whole life, and totally legal gun owner, and if you drove your kid to school and you had your pistol in your car, the minute you got on the school's parking lot, you were technically committing a federal offense. Well, this summer, which this video is being made in the fall of 2014, as of this summer, if your vehicle, same requirements, legally owned, out of sight, and secured, if it's in the parking lot of a school, you are not violating any laws. Now, it can't go in the school. It has to be in the parking lot, okay? So in the state of Indiana, you can now carry also guns, same requirements in the car, in state parks. You used to not be able to carry them in state parks, but now you can. Now, a couple other gun requirements or laws that I haven't mentioned is this. Even though you can get a gun permit for handguns at age 18, gun stores will not sell you handguns until you're 21, which kind of don't make any sense. How do you get permit to carry it in one hand, but then they won't sell it to you? I guess you got to buy it off of a private person or whatever, but you are allowed to own handguns at 18. If you got a gun permit, you're allowed to own them. The store won't sell it to you. Another thing is, I'm losing my train of thought. If you do not have a permit to carry pistols, you still have the right to carry a gun in your house, in your property. You do not need a gun permit to have pistols in your property. You just can't take it with you in public. So if you're someone who hasn't applied for a gun permit, but you're not a felon, you can buy a pistol, you can keep it in your house at all times, and you can keep yourself safe when you and your family sleeps. Another thing is, if you do not have a handgun permit and you need to travel somewhere with a gun, it cannot be loaded with ammo and ready to fire. It has to be in a state that they call, it has to be inaccessible and not easily made ready to use. What they want is, they want the gun in a locked compartment or in the trunk, and they want no ammo in it. Now, if you put ammo in one part of the car and you put an unloaded gun in another part of the car, and make sure that the gun itself, if you can, is somehow locked. If it's not locked, then it could be in the trunk, which means you can't just stop your car and suddenly grab a gun instantly. Under those circumstances, someone without a gun permit in the state of Indiana can travel with a pistol. And it wouldn't hurt to say you just bought it and you're on your way home, or you're on your way to or from a shooting range, but you don't have to say that. But those are the laws concerning guns. Those are the ones that I can recall right off of my head concerning Indiana gun laws. Now, there's a gun app on Android called Illegal Heat, and there's many other gun apps, but you can get these apps that like just instantly will give you gun laws of whatever state you pick. And this app, Legal Heat, you touch what state you live in, and it shows color coded of all the other states, whether they recognize your permit or not. Some states recognize Indiana, some don't, and it's a very good app to have, and it's helpful. But I just wanted to go over some Indiana gun laws, considering that a lot of my videos are firearms related. And this is Eagle Owl, and thanks for watching. I got more videos to come soon. Signing out.